You know what? We're witnessing the first real casualty of the AI boom. And if you thought it was a tech company, I'm so sorry, but you're wrong. It's actually the hardware in your pocket. Look, basically everyone's talking about record earnings and nobody is really talking about the memory squeeze happening under the hood. There's a brutal trade-off in play right now. Think of the world's semiconductor capacity like a very high-end luxury development. It's finite. Right now, giants like AMD are outbidding everyone for HBM, which is of course high bandwidth memory. It's the digital gold needed for AI data centers. But here's the problem. HBM is incredibly resource heavy. So for every 1 unit of that AI memory produced, manufacturers have to sacrifice 3 units of the standard RAM used in our smartphones and laptops. We aren't just seeing a shortage. The cloud is literally cannibalizing the edge. And this is creating a massive friction point. AMD is the predator. They've secured the supply to fuel their massive server growth. But Qualcomm, on the other hand, they are facing a wall. They've built the chips for on-device AI. Yes, that's their strategy. But the memory required to run them has seen a 90% price spike in just 6 months. Phone makers are now in a corner. Do they ship a flagship phone with less memory than last year? Or do they pass that massive cost straight to us? The bill of materials has exploded and it's threatening to stall the mobile AI revolution before it even starts, by the way. So is the rush to power the cloud effectively bankrupting the potential of our personal devices? To get into the mechanics of this and a lot more, I am joined by our editorial head, Prabhu Arjunan. Prabhu, of course, is always somebody who brings such fascinating insights, and I'm pretty sure that he's right warmed up and excited to tell us what is really going on. Prabhu, let's start with the fact that welcome to the front page. It's a true honor to always have you with us.
Thank you, Sudhir.
Let's actually start with this one, the December quarter results. What has happened?
Yeah, I think the trend has been set in the last quarter. When we had NVIDIA results, the markets kind of reacted in the same way as what we are seeing today. See, we are moving away from that AI hype cycle towards the kind of application reality, right? So AI hype cycle kind of showed us what the demand is. Now when we are moving towards the execution layer, we are seeing that supply constraint. So that is what is happening. AMD, look at AMD, yesterday's result, they hit 10.3 billion in revenue, which is 34% high year on year. And their stock movement was down 17%. Now, why? Why, if you have reported a good quarter, why does the stock fall? Sure. So that's where I think markets are expecting much. Today, analysts or the investors are not expecting what AMD or Qualcomm has done. They are seeing what Qualcomm can become or AMD can become. So that they are looking at the future perspective, and that's where the markets are like, hey, look, you might have done great, but I'm not happy with what you're projecting. So, in fact, if you look at...
Talk about being a monitor in the class or the principal.
Yeah, so see, investors are guiding it because with so much of AI talk, right? I mean, by end of the day, you need to fetch that revenue. And the ecosystem spoke so much about the AI infrastructure. And if it is not yielding revenue in quick time, then investors lose that confidence. Yeah. When will I get that money back? So that is where it is driving towards. So
and rightly so, do you not think so, Prabhu? I mean, those concerns that they have, as far as the market is concerned, as far as the investors are concerned, is absolutely correct.
It is. But if you look at the outlook for AMD, for the next quarter, I mean, AMD's was Q4 result that they put out. So the Q1 of 2026, they have projected 9.8 billion in revenue.
Right.
We have had 10.3 this quarter, which means that they are being cautious of it. When the AI demand is raining, why are you being cautious? It should have ideally been higher.
Absolutely.
And out of the 10.3 that revenue that they generated in the last quarter, 390 million came from China ecosystem. Now, if you remove that, then your revenue is kind of okay, it's not that great, right? Now, why we should not consider the China aspect, or why analysts are not considering is because of these geopolitical tensions that exist. So it is not always in the next quarter, will Trump's policies kind of have a detrimental effect? It also changes, so, which is precisely the point. So when there is no clarity on that, so they don't think the market doesn't receive the China revenue as a great potential.
Right.
So that's where we are heading towards.
Even with your wonderful knowledge and even a crystal ball, I'm promising you, you won't be able to predict Trump. Anyway, the market divergence. AMD stock, as you just said, it's taken a bit of a hit despite securing the supply. So the entire market ecosystem, is it that it's become, is it feeling that this market squeeze is because of unsustainability? Do you feel that that could be another aspect which is kind of somewhere driving this hit which has taken place?
Well, we are seeing the shortages of memory, like the memory squeeze, right? I mean, if you look at the PC market or the smartphone markets, we all need the dynamic RAM. And the data centers for the AI infrastructure, they are all demanding the HBM, high bandwidth memory.
Yeah.
Now, who's producing all this? By end of the day, it's the same set of companies that is catering to this segment.
True.
And where does the infrastructure come from? Whether it is AMD or Qualcomm, they are all relying on the same ecosystem.
True.
Now, why there is a crisis? Because they are not able to cater to the demand. Why? Because when you shift from your DRAM to the HBM,
yes,
you are using the same set of capacity, which requires higher infrastructure, which means that your production is getting slowed. So ideally, your DRAMs are getting choked, and people are not able to cater to the demand.
Yeah, which is what I actually wanted to talk to you about also, which is the DRAM prices which have been projected to rise 90%, as I just mentioned.
Right.
Prabhu. So that is obviously going to have do you feel that that is going to lead up to some sort of a spec recession, as I was just trying to give in terms of the context before I brought you onto the show? As far as the smartphones are concerned, do you think we'll be seeing like lesser efficient models as compared to 2025?
Let's take, today we are talking about high-end phones having AI capabilities, right? Now, if I were to have a on-device AI capability, or if I were to have high-end models on my system, I need to have better DRAMs.
Sure.
Now, to have that, I need to have the DRAM supply, sorted.
Yeah.
Now, why AMD or Qualcomm, they are not able to cater to this market is because there is high demand from the data centers for the HBMs.
True.
So the resources are diverted towards that, which is why we are seeing that, look, the demand is spiking, supply is not there, the prices are inflating. As simple as that.
Right now, NVIDIA is not their best friend.
See, everybody has diversified. In fact, if you look at the HBM capacity, from Samsung to Hynix to Micron, everybody is getting into that segment because that is where the real money is.
Money is correct.
By doing so, what happens is that the smartphone market gets choked. But smartphones are also kind of, from the AI infrastructure, everybody wants to sell AI phones today. So now what happens to that? So by end of the day, market is like, hey, look, if I don't sell the AI phones by 2026, then I'm losing out because I've spoken so much in the last 2 years about AI can do so much.
Correct.
So when will the AI phones come out? If my chips are getting delayed, my phones are not going to get produced. True. If phones are not going to get produced, then your investors will lose confidence. Yeah. So
it's one crazy vicious cycle that one is getting into. It's a crazy loop.
Right.
So tell me this, Prabhu, what do you feel about, I mean, as we were discussing, the one thing that popped up in my mind was AMD, I mean, the entire strategy is on-device AI, and it is struggling today. So what do you think, or what do you feel AMD should do in this sort of a crisis? What do you feel that they need to kind of find a way to kind of pivot or figure out something or whatever? Because, well, let's be honest, and NVIDIA is a huge monster to deal with, or for that matter, the other ones.
See, of course, NVIDIA is a big threat when we compare to other players, but we've also seen that it's not a problem of AMD alone. See, the market, it's like the AI bubble talk that we are talking about, right? Why is there a bubble talk that's happening? Because it is not.
Sorry, I said AMD, I meant Qualcomm.
Yeah.
On-device strategy, yeah. Right.
So I'll come to that. But why are we seeing this bubble talk, and why is that reflecting on the semiconductor ecosystem as well, right? Now, AMD is just a kind of a visible target, that's all. So everybody else in the AI ecosystem, whether it is a chip company or it is a AI company from Google to Microsoft, everybody is facing the same crisis. There is enough expectations, the supply is not there, you are not able to cater to the demand. I can't make revenue as quick as what the investors think. And so that is where.
One thing that pops up in one's mind immediately, Prabhu, as a very simple, basic thought, commonsensically for that matter, increase the supply. Let's increase the production lines, or for that matter, increase the capacities.
Well, to answer
You
that,
know what I mean?
I get it. See, but today, the factory facilities are the same, right?
Why?
So data centers are overbidding the smartphone manufacturers. That's how it is. So why your question, to answer your question of why can't I put more? The capex is already of these companies are already raised with AI infrastructure. How much more do I put in? Right? So, I mean, where do I increase these facilities? If you have to acquire from land acquisition to kind of building the facility, it takes time.
Yes,
But
time is one factor, and also do you feel, Prabhu, that this sort of an investment in terms of capacity expansion, do you feel that the ends will justify the means in terms of, let's say, we talk about the sheer numbers as you just mentioned. Would you be kind enough to maybe just share with the viewers so that at least they get the context?
Let's talk from a user point of view, right?
Yeah.
Now, let's say if I were to have an AI smartphone, and if my price raises by, let's say, 15% by next year, with across globally, we are seeing kind of markets how reacting, inflation, how it is raising and stuff. Will the smartphone manufacturers have the same sales as what they had in 2026? We will have to wait and watch. Now, for that to happen, unless your smartphone sales are higher, I'm not going to have a better revenue, right?
Absolutely.
So, if you don't have better revenue, what happens to all the chips that they sold? So again you're caught in that loop.
It's a weird loop.
So and if you put infrastructure, money on setting up factories and building the whole ecosystem, and if you don't get revenue, then you are hit because you're already late. And where does that lead you to? Then investors lose confidence, the stocks will tank further. So that is where kind of it will lead you to again the AI bubble kind of impacting even the chip market ecosystem. So,
have you read this book called Catch 22, Prabhu?
I don't remember. No.
I just thought it might just. That's where we are at.
Yeah. So yeah, the catch 22 situation. So, but ideally, I mean, you look at it. Why would companies like AMD or even NVIDIA for that matter, right? Why should they worry? Should there be a sign of worry when they are doing good in terms of demand is there? I think when Samsung, Hynix, they all said we have demand for the next 18 months.
Yes.
And if you have demand for the next 18 months, you keep producing, and then who's the buyer?
That's what I wanted to finally ask you, which is that what does it do to the consumer electronics market? Since there is obviously a demand for the next 18 months, what does it do to, for example, consumers and the consumer electronics market?
Certainly, there will be a shortage of demand for the PC market and the smartphone market because as the capacities are shifting towards producing the HBM from the DRAMs, it's the same set of factories that is doing. So, which means that I won't get the memory chip for my smartphone and PCs. So, all my AI devices are going to get delayed.
Right.
So, which means that Qualcomm will take a hit, and probably including AMD's on the smartphone market.
Delay is fine. That I agree. I understand that logically. But I don't think, I personally feel, Prabhu, they are not going to compromise on the quality in terms of, let's say, the specs, etc. They'll be okay to take a hit as far as the delay is concerned, but I don't think they will go hark back to, let's say, a lesser model, because that just definitely destroys their so-called...
Technology is changing fast.
Exactly my point.
So if you don't do it today, by the time you delay it, there will be some other technology that will come in, perhaps, and there will be another player who will come and say, hey, look, I can deliver this better. So, I mean, they will have to act fast. And how will you act fast? Why will you act fast? Is companies that they will have to define further in terms of setting up more factories. And if you're doing more factories, can you produce quickly and deliver it to the market? Is a bigger question. So,
finally, Prabhu, I mean, it is genuinely a weird figure of 8 that everyone seems to be stuck in. What is your final, let's say, the front page take or a solution, if you will? Which you'd like to share with all of us and the viewers. What do you think can just break this entire thing?
I think companies need to realize that the demand and supply needs to be kind of addressed, where we have seen so much hype. We have talked so much about the AI cycle. Now, was it really meant to be that hype?
Yeah.
And two, if I were to address the AI smartphone ecosystem or the PC ecosystem, right? Where is the user base? Are the users across the globe ready to use this AI ecosystem? Right? Now, catering to that, AI has wonderful capabilities. Your system can do much better than what a human can do. Your smartphone can get much more smarter. All of this is fine. But is the consumer ready? So, who are you building these for? It's just that they will have to foresee what the consumer wants. Will the consumer be able to afford these and then produce accordingly? And
but do you think not something like that would have been studied before, leaping into it beforehand?
well, they would have studied, but nobody would have expected this slowdown, right? I mean, it's see, everybody. I mean, like I said, today it's because it's doing so much. We have moved away from DRAMs to kind of HBMs. So the companies are thinking that, hey, look, there is much more potential with newer technologies. I am producing more, but who are you doing it for?
Correct.
So that's where we are headed towards. It's kind of a reality check towards the market dynamics in terms of what the market wants, what the consumer want, rather than what I can produce. And while the investors are thinking that, hey, look, you can produce great, but are you fetching me better revenue soon? So,
which is always the bottom line when it comes down to the investor, to be honest,
Right.
Prabhu. As always, thank you so much for being on Front Page, Prabhu, and wonderful insights, ladies and gentlemen, as you just heard from Prabhu. And I guess he summed it up beautifully where he's talking about the fact that yes, first and foremost, we need to understand if there is a genuine real demand and not just keep leapfrogging and keep hurtling towards the fact that no, this is expected and we need to keep delivering, because clearly there are choke points and the chinks in the armor are starting to show. But I guess what we need to do right now is to probably reassess where we stand and then start taking steps forward, because finally, when the investors are asking those very tough questions, they will definitely need to be answered. That, ladies and gentlemen, is Front Page. And as always, like, share, subscribe, and always remember, think AI, think AIM.